Living alone was supposed to be peaceful. I just moved into a cozy one-bedroom apartment in a quiet neighborhood outside Portland, Oregon. Mid-30s, freelance writer, single. It was the first place I could truly call my own. No roommates, no shared walls, no landlord living upstairs. Just me, my thoughts, and the hum of a refrigerator that sounded like it was still trying to work out its purpose in life. The building was a little older, built in the late 70s, but it had charm. Hardwood floors, crown molding, a small but modern kitchen. The bathroom was tucked down a short hallway next to the bedroom, with one of those sliding pocket doors that never quite closes all the way. It was perfect, until it wasn't. It started the third night after I moved in. I was in bed reading something on my tablet when I noticed light spilling into the hallway. Not a lot, just a faint glow under the door. The bathroom light was on, which was weird because I knew I'd turned it off. I always do. I'm borderline obsessive about saving electricity. I remember hitting the switch on the way out. I stood there for a second, staring down the hall like the answer might appear in the silence. Eventually, I shrugged it off and went to turn it off again. Didn't think much of it. Maybe I missed the switch, maybe it stuck. Old wiring or something. But the next night, it happened again. And the night after that, it became a pattern. I'd go to bed, read, then, around 1 or 2 kungsem, I'd glance up, and the bathroom light would be on. I even tested myself, turned it off, double-checked it, then stood in the hallway for a full minute watching to see if it flipped back. It didn't, but an hour later, there it was. Light glowing soft yellow through the crack in the pocket door. I replaced the switch. Thought maybe it was a short circuit. No change. I started getting uneasy. Then came the sounds. Soft at first, like movement. A faint creak from the bathroom floor, the kind that makes you freeze mid-step, wondering if your mind's playing tricks. One night I heard the faucet running. I ran into the bathroom, and it was off. Dry as bone. But the sink was wet. That same night, I looked in the mirror and noticed something odd. There was a smudge, right in the middle of the glass, oval-shaped, like the condensation left from someone breathing against it. But I hadn't showered, and the mirror was otherwise spotless. I installed a camera, just a basic motion-activated one, hidden inside a little fake plant on the hallway table. It was pointed directly at the bathroom door. I synced it to an app on my phone and waited. 2 nights went by with nothing. Then on the third night, I got a notification at 2:11 a.m. Motion detected. I opened the video. It showed the bathroom door, still closed. Then slowly, very slowly, the light came on. No switch sound, no shadows. Just the glow creeping out through the sides of the door. I waited. At 2:13 a.m., the door slid open about 3 inches. No one came out. And then, at 2:14 a.m., it slid shut again. That was it. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next day, I called the building manager. Told him I was hearing things, seeing things. Asked if maybe someone had a master key, or if the wiring had ever caused lights to flicker. He paused on the phone. "You're in 3B, right?" "Yeah." So I thought that unit was still empty. I told him I'd been living there for nearly a week. He showed up an hour later with a clipboard and a confused look. Said something about a clerical error. Apologized. Said he hadn't been inside 3B in over a month. I asked if anyone had ever complained about the place before. He hesitated again. There was a woman. Lived there alone last year, real quiet, paid in cash. One night her neighbor reported water leaking through the floor into the unit below. When we went in, she was gone. Bathroom faucet was running full blast. Lights on, pocket door jammed shut. No sign of her. I didn't ask for more. That night I moved my mattress into the living room and left the hallway lights on. I couldn't bring myself to sleep near that door. At 3:07 a.m. I woke up to a sound I'll never forget. Running! But not across the floor. Across walls. Heavy footsteps, as if someone was sprinting on the ceiling above me. Around the perimeter of the apartment, circling, fast, over and over again. Then they stopped, right above the bathroom. I didn't move. Barely breathed. I kept the blanket pulled to my chin like a child hiding from a nightmare. Then the bathroom light came on. The next day, I left the apartment for good. I didn't break the lease. I didn't even pack everything. I just walked out, locked the door, and threw the keys in the storm drain out front. But before I left, I did one last thing. I checked the hallway camera footage. At exactly 3:07 a.m., the light came on. At 3:08 a.m., the pocket door slid open again. And for the first time, something stepped out. It looked like me. Same height, same build, same pajamas. But the face. No eyes, no mouth, just pale, smooth skin. And in the video, it stood in the hall, perfectly still, before turning toward the camera and reaching out. The feed cut out. I haven't been back. I don't even live in Oregon anymore. But some nights when I wake up around 3 a.m., I swear I see light under the door. And I live in a studio now, with no bathroom door at all. I never thought I'd be the kind of person who needed to sleep with a bat under their bed. But here we are. I live in a quiet suburb outside of Denver, Colorado. Not the kind of place you'd associate with fear. The lawns are trimmed. Mailboxes are clean. Everyone waves when they pass by. You know the type, peaceful, predictable. Which is exactly why what happened to me shouldn't have happened at all. It was just after midnight when I heard it for the first time. A click. I was lying in bed drifting off, when I heard a distinct mechanical sound echo from the front hallway. It was sharp, unmistakable, like the tumblers of a lock turning. Not just any lock, my front door lock. I live alone. No roommates, no pets. No one else has a key, not even my parents. The door is solid steel, reinforced with a keypad deadbolt. I installed it myself after a break-in scare last year. And I've never given out the code. I sat up in bed, heart pounding. The hallway light was off. Everything in the apartment was still. Too still. I told myself it was probably just the heater. Maybe the metal shifting. Old pipes. Something like that. But when I checked the smart lock app on my phone, it confirmed what I feared. The front door unlocked, 12:04 a.m. I grabbed the bat from under my bed, tiptoed through the apartment, and checked every corner. Nothing, no one in the kitchen. No shadows in the hall. Bathroom empty. Bedroom window locked. The front door still closed. But definitely Mike's unlocked. I stood there staring at the doorknob, my reflection just visible in the peephole. I locked it again manually, and this time I slid the deadbolt across too. I barely slept that night. The next morning I checked the smart lock's access log. No one entered. No one left. Just one entry. Due unlocked, 12:04 a.m. No IP address. No remote activity. No keypad entry. I even contacted the company. Their tech support said it must have been a signal error or a possible power blip. Unlikely, but not impossible. They offered to send a replacement unit. I accepted it, but deep down I didn't think it was the lock. Things got worse the following week. I started waking up to little things being wrong. The TV remote was on the floor instead of the coffee table. My toothbrush was damp even though I hadn't used it since the morning. The fridge door was cracked open. A glass I never used was sitting in the sink. I tried to rationalize it all. Fatigue, stress, forgetfulness. But then I found the photo. It was on my kitchen counter, one of those instant photos, Polaroid style. I don't own a Polaroid camera. The image was dark and grainy. But I recognized the room instantly. It was in my bedroom, Mo. The photo had been taken from inside, from the foot of the bed, while I was asleep. My body was curled up under the blanket, face barely visible. And in the corner of the photo, a figure, just barely in frame, tall, blurry, watching me. I dropped it and nearly vomited. I called the police. They were polite but skeptical. No sign of forced entry. Nothing was stolen, no fingerprints other than mine. When I showed them the photo, one of the officers raised an eyebrow. "Looks like it could be a fake," he said. "AI generated, maybe? You'd be surprised what people can do with apps these days." I insisted it was real, that I hadn't taken it, that someone had been inside my home. They promised to increase patrols in the area, but I could tell they didn't believe me. That night I locked every door and window, triple-checked the alarm system, set up a security camera pointing at the front door. Then I waited. At exactly 12:04 thought I heard it again. The slag. The lock. This time I had proof. I rushed to the camera feed on my phone, hands shaking. The screen loaded and showed the hallway. Empty. Door shut. But the timestamp changed. Front door, unlocked. I held my breath, watched for any movement. Then I saw it. A figure appearing suddenly, like it stepped into frame from nowhere. No walking, no entrance, just there. It was tall, thin, skin stretched too tight over its frame. No clothes, no face, just a smooth, blank expanse where its features should be. And it turned and looked directly at the camera. Then the feed went black. I didn't sleep. At sunrise, I grabbed my laptop, wallet, and keys and drove straight to a hotel downtown. I didn't go back the next day, or the next, but curiosity got the best of me. On the third day, I returned with a friend, big guy, former Army, just in case. The apartment was undisturbed. Nothing missing, nothing strange, until we checked the bedroom. Sitting on the pillow was another Polaroid. This one was from the hallway, taken through the crack of the bedroom door. It showed me sleeping and standing in the doorway with my friend, except he hadn't arrived yet when the photo was taken. We moved out that day. I broke the lease, paid the penalty, told the landlord I was dealing with a personal crisis I never explained. What could I even say? I threw out the phone, the camera, the smart lock, everything. Started over. I live in a different city now. A walk-up apartment in an old building. Physical locks only, deadbolts, chains. Nothing connected to Wi-Fi. But every night I still hear that sound in my head. It's like, and sometimes around 12:04 a.m., I wake up to find my bedroom door cracked open, just slightly. I close it every night before bed, I know I do. But somehow, it's always unlocked. I always thought the fear of monsters under the bed was something you grow out of. You know, one of those childhood things, like being afraid of the dark, or thinking shadows were ghosts. We laugh at it as adults, chalking it up to imagination, a phase, a relic of a mind not yet used to the quiet of night. But I'm 28 years old, and last winter I started hearing something breathing under my bed. I just moved into a new apartment outside of Minneapolis. Small second-floor unit, older building. The kind of place that creaks even when no one's walking. I'd just gone through a breakup, 5 years down the drain. And the apartment was my fresh start. Just me, a couple of houseplants, and a lumpy IKEA mattress I barely bothered to frame. It sat low to the floor. Just enough space beneath to slide boxes of books or off-season shoes. Or something else. The first time I heard it was just after 2:01 a.m. It had been snowing for hours. The city was silent, muffled by white. I was curled up under a mountain of blankets, half asleep, when I heard it. A long, slow exhale. Ooh. It came from directly beneath me. Not the hallway. Not the neighbors, but under the bed. I froze. No movement. No talking. Just that faint, rhythmic breathing. Like someone trying to stay quiet. I told myself it was the pipes. Old buildings do that. Air in the heating system, right? But the sound was wet. Human. You don't forget the texture of real breathing. The way it fills space. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next day I checked under the bed. Nothing. Just 2 boxes of winter clothes and a dusty pair of boots. I even moved the bed frame away from the wall in case there was a vent or a draft. Found nothing. Still, I couldn't shake it. So I started sleeping with earbuds in, white noise on full blast. For a while it helped, until the night the breathing got louder. It was a Tuesday. I remember because I had an early Zoom meeting the next morning and forced myself to go to bed before midnight. I was almost asleep when I felt the bed shift. Not like settling or creaking, this was a weight. Like someone had put their hands on the mattress, pressing up from underneath. And then the breathing started again. He, hoo, louder now, closer. It sounded like it was exhaling straight into the springs. I leapt out of bed and flipped on the lights. Nothing, but I swear the air smelled different. Damp, sour, like soil or old meat. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next day I left work early and bought a camera, a small motion-activated one. I placed it on my nightstand, angled it toward the gap between my bed and the floor. I felt ridiculous, like I was ghost hunting in my own bedroom. But I needed answers. That night I hit record and forced myself to lie down. Light off, ears uncovered. The breathing started at 2:13 a.m. I kept my eyes closed, stayed as still as possible, my chest tight, my body screaming at me to move. But I didn't. Not until morning. When I reviewed the footage, I almost dropped the phone. The recording showed the bed, dark room, silent for the first few hours. Then at exactly 2:13 a.m., something moved. A hand, pale, thin, and almost translucent, reached out from under the bed skirt. It clawed at the hardwood floor, fingers flexing like it was dragging itself forward. Then the tip of a head appeared, hairless, wet, twitching. The breathing was loud now. The camera mic barely kept up with it. Then it froze. The thing under the bed knew it was being watched. Its head tilted, once, twice, like it was listening for something. Then it pulled back, slowly, deliberately, vanished under the bed again. At 2:19 a.m., the breathing stopped. I didn't sleep there again. I crashed at a friend's place that night. Brought the footage with me. She made it about halfway through before she started crying and begged me to stop. We called the police. They did a full inspection. Nothing. No signs of forced entry, no crawl space, no evidence of someone living under the floorboards. But they looked disturbed. One of the officers asked if I'd recently been on any medication. Another asked if I'd had any recent trauma. They clearly didn't believe me, so I showed them the footage. And when I did, one of the cops turned pale. He stared at the screen, eyes wide. "That's not possible," he whispered. "There's nothing under that bed." He knew. Somehow he knew. He wouldn't explain. Just muttered something about old buildings and thin spaces before leaving. I broke the lease. Paid the penalty. Packed in daylight, never alone. I even left the bed behind and couldn't bring myself to take it apart. Just left it there, like a sacrificial offering. Moved into a modern complex. Concrete floors, bright lighting. No space under the bed, just a solid platform frame. But the thing is, I still hear it. Not every night, but sometimes, just as I'm about to fall asleep, I feel the weight shift beneath me. And then, soft, quiet, and impossibly close, I live alone. That sentence used to feel like independence. Now it feels like a warning. It all started on a normal Wednesday night. I'd just gotten home from my job at a small marketing agency in Boise, reheated leftovers, put on a podcast, and eventually crawled into bed with a book. Everything felt normal, predictable, safe, until I woke up the next morning. There was a note on my pillow, a small piece of lined paper torn neatly from a notebook. On it, written in shaky, unfamiliar handwriting, "You forgot to lock the window again." At first, I laughed. I thought maybe it was a prank. Maybe my best friend Sarah had stopped by, found the window open and left me a creepy joke. She's into true crime and has a twisted sense of humor. But when I texted her, she replied, "I haven't been to your place in weeks." "What window?" I stood in the middle of my bedroom, phone in hand, rereading her message as that sinking feeling settled in. I turned to face the window. It was locked. But you see, I hadn't checked it the night before. I know I didn't. And I never leave notes for myself. The handwriting wasn't mine. I even compared it to my journal. Totally different. So I did what anyone else would. I checked the apartment. Every room. Every closet. Even under the bed, nothing. The door was still dead-bolted from the inside. No signs of a break-in. No fingerprints on the note except mine. Maybe I'd written it in my sleep? Still, that didn't explain the handwriting, or why the note smelled faintly like cologne I didn't own. I told myself to forget it. Weird things happen when you're tired, stressed, alone. But then it happened again. 2 nights later, I found another note. Same paper, the same handwriting. It was folded this time and left inside my pillowcase. It's colder here than I remember. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next morning, I called maintenance, told them I thought someone might have had a key, maybe a former tenant or contractor. They changed the locks the same day. The guy who came out was friendly enough, but when I mentioned the notes, he froze a little. "This unit?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. He hesitated. "You ever hear anything at night? Like scratching?" I shook my head, even though suddenly I could feel the memory of something faint, just on the edge of hearing. He left without saying more. I installed a cheap camera. One of those motion-activated ones you can get online. I pointed it at my bed, aiming to catch whoever or whatever was leaving the notes. For the next 3 nights, nothing. But on the 4th, I woke up to find 3 notes. One on my pillow. "You left it open again." One taped to the wall above my bed. "It's warmer when you're asleep." And one under my mattress. You dreamed of me. My hands were shaking as I grabbed my phone to check the footage. But the video feed was corrupted. The camera recorded fine until 2:17 a.m., and then it glitched, just a smear of gray static until 3:06 a.m. After that, the feed resumed like nothing had happened. I didn't dream that night. But I woke up with a scratch down my back I couldn't explain. I started sleeping on the couch. The notes followed. They weren't always threats. In fact, most of them weren't. Some were just observations. You grind your teeth in your sleep. You cried after you read that text. You checked the front door 3 times before bed. I like your voice. One night, there was a note under my pillow again, even though I hadn't touched the bed in a week. The couch hurts my neck. Go back to bed. It wasn't just my apartment anymore. It was ours. I contacted the landlord. I was ready to break the lease, move out, start over somewhere else. That's when she told me something I'll never forget. You live in Unit 3B, right? Yeah. That place has a weird history. Last guy before you, quiet guy, lived alone too. Used to leave himself notes all the time. Said it helped with the loneliness. I asked what happened to him. There was a long pause. Leo passed in the apartment. Took a while before anyone found him. That was 6 months before I moved in. The final note came 3 nights ago. I had started recording audio at night since the camera was no longer working. I placed my phone on the dresser and left the app running all night. In the morning, I found a note pinned to my headboard. You'll forget everything soon, it's easier that way. When I played back the audio, there were long stretches of silence. Then, at exactly 3:13 a.m., a soft breathing sound, and a whisper, so faint I had to amplify the audio to catch it. It said, "Don't worry, I'll leave the notes now." I haven't found another one since. But sometimes I wake up in the night and see my pillow slightly moved, or feel the air grow still, like someone standing nearby. I don't record anymore. I don't look under the pillow. I don't want to know what the next note might say, because I think the truth is this: I was never alone. And I'm not the one who wrote the first note, but I might be the one writing the next. Living alone was the best decision I ever made. At least at first. No roommates, no surprise guests, just the soft buzz of the fridge, the occasional hum of traffic outside, and the quiet rhythm of a life completely under my control. I'd just turned 31 when I moved into the apartment, a cozy 1-bedroom, on the 3rd floor of an older building in Tacoma. It had creaky wooden floors, faded floral wallpaper, and the kind of windows that shook when it stormed. It felt lived in, but not haunted, at least not in the traditional sense. The first few weeks were bliss, until the voices started. The first time I thought it was the neighbors. It was a little after midnight. I'd just shut off the TV and was brushing my teeth when I heard it. Don't forget the light. It was quiet, almost a whisper, and sounded like it came from inside my living room. I paused, toothbrush halfway to my mouth, listening. Silence. I poked my head into the living room. No lights on. Nothing outside the window. No TV, no phone. Just quiet. I wrote it off. Maybe it was the plumbing, or a neighbor on their balcony. Thin walls, old pipes. I wasn't worried. Not yet. The second time was harder to explain. I was lying in bed, scrolling through my phone, when I heard a whisper from inside the room. You shouldn't be awake. I sat bolt upright. The air felt still, thick. My phone screen dimmed, and for a split second, I thought I saw movement in the reflection. Like someone was standing at the foot of the bed. But when I turned the light on, there was nothing. Just a cold spot, right where the whisper had come from. Over the next week, it escalated. The voices came more often, sometimes one word, sometimes entire sentences. Why are you ignoring me? You locked the door, right? We were talking. You don't remember me, do you? And they never came from the same direction. Sometimes behind me, sometimes next to me. Once, terrifyingly, right beside my ear as I made coffee. I checked the vents, the walls. I even asked the upstairs neighbor if they were playing some kind of prank. They just stared at me like I was losing it. Maybe I was. I started recording my nights. Just audio. I left my phone on the nightstand and let it capture whatever it could. The first night's playback was normal. Silence. The occasional rustle as I shifted in bed. The second night, there was a voice. 3:11 a.m., clear as day, a man's voice whispered, You breathe too loudly when you dream. I replayed it 15 times. It wasn't my voice. It wasn't a neighbor. It was someone in the room with me. I didn't sleep for 2 days after that. I called a friend, someone I hadn't seen since college. She was into weird stuff. Paranormal investigations, ghost hunting, EVP recordings, all that. I figured if anyone wouldn't think I was insane, it was her. She came over with gear, 2 audio recorders, a thermal camera, and some EMF readers she got online. We set everything up, sat on the floor, and waited. Around 2:40 a.m., the temperature dropped. Not a lot, maybe 5 degrees, but it was sudden. No draft, no open windows. The EMF reader began to flicker, and then the whisper. Both of us heard it. You shouldn't have brought her. My friend turned to me, pale. That wasn't on your recordings before? I shook my head. She started packing up fast, wouldn't even stay the night. There's something here, she said on her way out. But I don't think it wants company. After that, it got worse. The voices came during the day while I was working. In the shower, on phone calls. They got meaner. You're wasting your life. They only pretend to like you. Your mother was right. You'll never leave. And the scariest part? They started sounding like me. Same pitch, same cadence, like I was arguing with a darker version of myself. I stopped going to work, stopped calling friends. I felt like I was losing time. I'd look up and hours would be gone. I'd find the stove on, the TV blaring static, notes scribbled in my handwriting I didn't remember writing. I tried leaving, spent a weekend at a hotel. No voices, no dreams. I came back Monday afternoon to grab some clothes. And there, on my bedroom mirror, written in the fog from the shower, though I hadn't turned the shower on, were the words, "Why did you come back? I don't know if this place is haunted, or if I am. I've seen therapists, taken sleeping pills. One doctor tried to put me on antipsychotics, but I stopped after 2 weeks. The voices didn't go away. They just got quieter, harder to distinguish from my own thoughts. That's what scares me now. I'm not sure which ones are mine anymore. Sometimes, late at night, I'll be lying in bed totally still, and I'll hear one of them whisper, 'We're inside now.' Last night, I woke up standing in the living room. The front door was unlocked. My keys were in my hand, and carved into the back of my bedroom door, deep and jagged, were the words, 'You can leave whenever you want, but you won't.'